2022 has taught the world that extreme weather events are not a rare phenomenon anymore. The summer season brought with it record-breaking heat waves, and the monsoon season ended up flooding streets around the world. And Europe has been no exception. Parts of the continent are witnessing floods after a severe heat wave, and the other parts are still battling the wrath of an unprecedented drought. This could be Europe's worst drought in 500 years. But what does this mean for the agricultural sector? What impact has it had? The ongoing drought was followed by a combination of heat waves and low rainfall, the lack of precipitation making it harder for the plants to extract water from the soil, and this leads to widespread heat stress on the vegetation. There have been reduced forecasts for this year's summer harvest. Crops worst affected, including sunflowers, corn and soybeans. The forecast for these crops between 12 to 16% below the 5-year average. Let's break down for you what's happening in different countries, starting with Italy. The northern part of the country risks losing up to half of its agricultural output. That is because lakes and rivers are running dangerously low. Tuscany is the heart of Italy's prized wine and olive oil industry, but the farmers there are battling to salvage whatever is left of this year's harvest. A lack of rainfall has been affecting the plants, and traditionally this has been the hot and dry conditions that they have been traditionally thriving in. On to France now, where the government declared the worst drought in the country since records started in 1958. The corn harvest is expected to be 18.5% lower this year compared to 2021. The shortage of fodder for cows because of the drought has led to another issue. There could potentially be a shortage of milk in the coming months. Remember, France is the EU's largest corn grower, and if the shortage arrives at home, how does Paris expect to feed the rest of the continent? After France, Romania is the EU's second largest corn producer. The lack of rainfall since spring has started compromising the yield potential of the summer crops, and according to reports, it is expected to be below the 5-year average. In Hungary, the region between the two main rivers, the Danube and Tisza, is crucial because this is where the country grows corn, grain and sunflowers. This area usually receives 550 to 600 millimeters of rainfall, but this year the figure stands at 120 millimeters. Farmers across Hungary have reported some 550,000 hectares of land being devastated. It has been a double whammy for Europe. On one hand is the drought-driven crop shortage, and on the other is the limited food supply due to the Russia-Ukraine war. And the shortages, like the kinds that have been witnessed now, have not been seen earlier. The crisis has come in the form of a learning for the continent, though, which has seen the repercussions of being dependent on others for basic items like food. Extreme weather events are here to stay for decades to come. So if this summer season will push Europe to adopt a strategy for future seasons, that remains to be seen. And with us on the broadcast this minute is Louis Torrent from Barcelona. Louis is an international consultant on climate change. Thanks very much for being here. Let me first ask you for the impact that the drought has had on the agricultural sector, and if you can break down for us some measures being undertaken to deal with the situation by the authorities.
Yes, hello. We're currently experiencing the worst drought in the last at least 500 years. So the impacts are quite stubborn. We've experienced an average of 12 to 16 crop yield reduction, and prices have been soaring across Europe. The persistent drought that we've been experiencing, the sustained high temperatures, are not only seen in the Mediterranean area, but also in Central and Northern Europe, which is affecting the crops production. For example, now is the start of the grape harvest season, but this year started 3 weeks earlier than usual due to these droughts. The situation is bad because even food imports are being affected, because some countries that our traditional exporters to Europe, are also being affected by the droughts. So this is causing inflation, which is also exacerbated by, of course, the crisis in Ukraine and the energy crisis. Some measures that are being taken at the moment because of low levels of water availability are water restrictions, which are in fact also affecting the agricultural sector, because it's one of the sectors being affected. And even though now there's a rising debate on the need to flexibilize the EU legislation, EU green legislation, for example, on pesticides, to increase crop yields and reduce the costings. So those are some of the measures that are being taken at the moment and being discussed these days.
How could the authorities have been better prepared? Because a lot of questions have been raised already about Europe's fight against climate change and how it has not been taking the crisis seriously enough. And now it has been witnessing these extreme weather events as a result of climate change for the last few months.
One of the weakest points of climate modeling these days is the predictability of extreme weather events like this. Models are being improved over time when it comes to temperature variability, precipitation variability, even wind variability. But it's difficult to foresee extreme events on a yearly basis. So I think one of the areas of improvement that it's needed right now is modeling capacity and monitoring capacity. So we are experiencing right now a wake-up call to invest more efforts by the academia and the public authorities on these monitoring systems to prevent this from happening again and to be more prepared and alerted.
We're leaving it there for the moment, Louis. Thanks very much for being here on the broadcast.
Thank you.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.